When my son came over here, this handsome young man, when he said, Dad, what time are we leaving tomorrow? I said, 9 a.m. He said, good, what are you going to talk about? I said, I don't know, but 9/11 is right around the corner. He said, what about 9/11? And it made me pause, and I started to think. He was 10 years old. I never spoke to him about it. And we've got a few young people in here that may not understand the importance of 9/11 and what it meant to we older people in here. I was sitting in my office, and I was one of the few people that had internet at a fairly large company. We forget that internet was not always part of our lives. And I'm sitting there, and it's a little after 9 o'clock. I don't remember the exact time. And there's a headline. No story, just a headline. The South Tower of the World Trade Center has been hit. Well, my boss has me monitoring news for the reason he wants to know news, so I go in and I tell the president of our company, hey, the World Trade Center has been hit by a plane. And we talk about it for a few moments, and the conclusion that we came to in our naivete was, our innocence maybe, was that it must have been somebody trying to fly between the towers in a stunt, and it was a small plane. And when I sat back down at my desk, Yahoo News, which I don't look at anymore, came across and said a second plane has hit the towers. And at that point, the world changed. Not just for me, probably for most everyone in this room. We realized we were under attack, and we went across the street where the owner of our company had a house that she would stay in when she visited us from New York City. And we turned on the television, and it was the raw footage, the footage that you don't see anymore. It was people falling. And it was traumatizing, because someone hated us so much that they would do this to our people. And so we sat there and we watched it. Then the Pentagon got hit. Then the first tower fell. And we were estimating, my God, there must be 10,000 people still in that building. And the second tower fell. In our minds, that was 20,000 Americans. We sat there and we heard about a plane that had crashed in Pennsylvania. And we're a group of smart men, and we figured it out. Somebody on that plane fought back.
Let's roll.
Normal, ordinary Americans gave up their lives in an act of heroism. That's who we are as a people. They probably saved the White House, the Capitol. We may never know.
Yeah.
But then we watched a little while longer. A man named Rudy Giuliani, the mayor of New York City, covered in dust. He'd been there since the first plane hit. Came to the microphone and he said, we don't know how many people have died, but we think the number is less than 10,000. Then later that night, he came back to that microphone and said, we don't know how many people have died, but we think it's less than 5,000. And I thought, my God, what a job they did to get those people out of there. And in the end, we all know it was less than 3,000 people that died. And 350 of them were firemen. I used to be a police officer. And police officers are brave. We do run to gunfire. But can you imagine the bravery it takes to put on a breathing apparatus and climb one of the tallest, most iconic buildings on the planet to save people you do not know? To walk up 1,000 feet of stairs. Right now, Fannie Willis has indicted that mayor, an American hero by any standards, in a our state. To say that I am enraged is, it's not a strong enough word. I run the gunfire. I run the fights. I try to stop them. Rudy Giuliani is 79 years old. He was acting as Donald Trump's personal attorney and doing what an attorney does. He was protecting his client. And for that, he has been indicted 13 times, essentially for being an attorney. When I started this campaign, I said that it was going to be based upon the rule of law. Consultants told me, you cannot run a campaign on rule of law. It's not something that will catch the interest of your population. I bet they hear me now. Because I bet that now you see that without the rule of law, we lose everything. We lose our private property. We lose capitalism, because you cannot run capitalism in a country without rule of law. We lose our personal freedoms when the New Mexico governor says your First and Second Amendment rights no longer apply when I declare an emergency. I don't agree with any of that. So Reagan and I stand up. We say we're different. We mean it. There ain't a bit of back down in that lady right there. And I promise you, there's even less in me. People have tried to kill me half a dozen times. I didn't kill any of them. I will not back down. So, the immortal words of Mr. Todd Beamer. Finally, I say, let's roll.